Hi and welcome to this week's Sim Racing News Roundup, where we take a weekly look at everything that has been announced, changed, updated, etc. within the world of sim racing. And we've got quite a diverse bag of stuff to talk about this week. So as always, all of the links to any info, etc., patch notes will all be down in the descriptions box below. So go and take a look down there, click on the link, go and find out more info about stuff if you want to. And again, if you find this video useful, please do hit the like button, and if you don't find it that useful, hit the dislike button. It's how I'll know what content to keep making and what to not make. Okay, so kicking things off, we have a new release has landed with us, and this is Dakar Desert Rally. So this is the follow-on from the 2018 titled Dakar 18, and basically takes us from South America over to the Middle East for the Dakar, with stages from 2020, 21 and 22, a whole host of vehicles and various modes that allow you to approach the Dakar in an arcade-focused driving style, right the way up to a full-blown simulation on it. I'm not going to turn the weekly news into a review, so I have done an initial look at it, and the video is linked to down below, so go and take a look at that if you want me rambling on for 10 minutes about Dakar Desert Rally, and a full review of that will be following in the next week or so. But overall, I'm enjoying it. It's a good little title. I'm having quite good fun with it. Moving away from the rugged off-roadness of the Dakar, and we have some news about the shiny bling world of hypercars and supercars and very rich people, in that we've had an interview happen over at the 6th Access with Katie Racing, and it's all about Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's covered in there, and keep in mind that Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown isn't due out until 2023, but there is an interview with the studio down there talking all about moving away from the WRC series and how they're going to be focusing and what they're going to be doing within Test Drive Unlimited, and that's an interview with the studio's creative director, and it's well worth a read. We then come to the first of our updates for this week, and Redout 2, the Wipeout homage. We'll call it that. We'll call it a homage, as released update 1.1.1. It's a good number, and this only really does one thing, and that one thing is basically add in Intel XeSS, which is Xe super sampling. So basically add super sampling to Redout 2. Now, one of my criticisms when I reviewed Redout 2 was that it's a great game, but it's not the most fantastically optimised thing in the world, and in an anti-grav racing game based around ludicrously high speeds, you want it to be as well optimised graphically as you possibly can, and it did struggle at times in that regard. So adding something like super sampling to it is a really good move in my view. I've not had a chance to play around with it yet, because I've mainly been focusing on Dakar this week, as I mentioned, but it will be interesting to see how well this works. Right, moving away from that, we stick with the world of updates, but into an interesting one, and that is that we now have, for NASCAR Ignition 21, in lieu of NASCAR Ignition 22, as you would expect, an annual release, we've instead got the 2022 season update, which is available across the NASCAR 21 Ignition titles, so console and PC, and brings the full 2022 lineup of drivers, teams and paint schemes into the title. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I haven't played Ignition in quite a while. I really should drop in and have a look at it, and oh my goodness, I've just noticed its price has dropped to £15.49 on Steam. £15.49. That's really cheap. So yeah, that's interesting in comparison to something else. Sorry, I've only just noticed that, and I'm completely distracted by it as I'm doing the voiceover. Normally we'd have expected a full new release, but motorsport games and its ongoing sagas I've discussed before. And why this is interesting is because in the press release they put out for this, which is linked down below, as well as the Steam update news, hidden away in the press release is the fact that, as well as being available in Ignition, the 2022 season expansion is also being added to NASCAR Heat Mobile and NASCAR Heat 5. Now for Mobile it's a freebie, but for Heat 5, and it doesn't come to Heat 5 until October the 21st, and I think that's the same date that Mobile's getting it, it's coming out at $12.34, which will be roughly around about £12, so about the same amount of money as NASCAR 21 Ignition's going for at the moment. Now I'm going to be perfectly honest, despite being theoretically technically inferior than Ignition, I actually still, the last time I played the two back-to-back, rate Heat 5 as a better NASCAR title than Ignition. And I, despite the fact that as an owner of Ignition have just got for free the 2022 season, I'm actually quite likely to pick up and have a look at the 22 season expansion for Heat 5 when it comes out towards the end of October. And interestingly, I think I might at that point do a back-to-back comparison between Heat 5 and Ignition, and really look at where both of them are a year after Ignition's release and, let's be honest, about 2 years after Heat 5's release. That'd be worth a look, I think. So yeah, sorry for wittering on a little bit there about that, but I think that will be a worthwhile thing to do. I shall have to try and pencil that in my diary and remember to do it. Right, moving away from NASCAR and all things around it, we have had an announcement this week about the new Need for Speed title that is going to be released very soon. December the 2nd, Need for Speed Unbound, as it's called, will be releasing on PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. Now, as always, there's a link down below. In this case, I'm linking to an article over on GT Planet because it's a really nice article that sums everything up and puts it all together. And the main thing here, which I think is going to really divide people, is the look and feel of this. The graphic style that they're putting in place for Unbound is interesting, to say the least, because the environments and the cars are hyper-realistic. And it's important to note that this is coming to PC and 9th generation consoles only, so that's PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. So it's not coming to last gen machines at all. You're not going to get this on your PS4 or your Xbox equivalents of the PS4 at all. So the environments and the cars, they look really damn good in this. And, you know, regardless of whether regardless if the Need for Speed series are your bag or not, I mean, they're very much arcade games and they don't pretend to be anything else. This is some seriously good looking stuff in terms of the environments and the car models that they're putting out for this. But the character models are very much a kind of cell shaded animation look and feel, and they're putting effects on the cars such as tyre smokes have these kind of cell shaded animation style sparks and things coming off of them, and you know, you've got that kind of very, very interesting, I think it's interesting anyway, blend of hyper-realism for the vehicles and the environments, but then for the actual characters and the environmental effects, you're getting this kind of cel-shaded animation look, and it is quite interesting. It's as though somebody's taken a really realistic looking racing title and smushed it into Automobilista, which you may remember was a cel-shaded PS2 title that was absolutely wonderful. And if you want to look at that, if you have a look at my retro reviews, I do review Automobilista. Yeah, it was called that, wasn't it? Hold on one moment. Yes, it was called Automobilista. I've just checked my list of my PS2 games on my shelf. So yeah, it's an interesting blend, and I think it's going to divide an awful lot of people. But I'd be interested to know what you all think about it. So if you got this far in the video and you're listening, go and take a look at the GT Planet article, click on the reveal trailer if you've not watched it already, have a look at the trailer and the design language and the look and feel of it, and let me know in the comments down below what you think of it, because I would really be interested to see people's take on it. Moving away then from Need for Speed and onto Gran Turismo 7, and we've had a teeny tiny little update out for Gran Turismo 7. It's update 1.24. It was deployed a day or so ago, and basically this fixes game progression bugs. That's all. It's a simple bug fix and nothing else, so really simple one. It comes in very light, 360 meg on the PS5 I'm reading here, so very tiny in that regard. So that's this week's sim racing news roundup. That's everything that's been going on, certainly that I've caught anyway. And in terms of what you've been looking at, well, circuit wise, this is actually a Redux circuit from Need for Speed Shift and Shift 2, and that's their London street circuit. And this comes courtesy of RMI Wood, who is a modder who you may well know from GT Planet. It's been worked on by a few other people. It's a really nice version of it. The curbing and the animations and all of the CSP features in there are really well done. You've got some good ambient noise in there, and it's a nice recreation of the track and works really well. Good sized grid on it if you want it as well, up to 30 cars in the pit and grid. Works well in terms of the AI as well. Certainly their driving on it seems to be better than mine, and that's particularly important if you know this track, because it's got a couple of nasty turns in there and a really nasty chicane. So I threw a car that can get really unruly at it, which is a mod I picked up over on Race Department, which is an Alpine A310 V6 Gt. Now, the one I'm linking to is actually a pack of two cars. You've got the base model car, and then you've got a limited edition that was produced for the Boulogne-sur-Mer dealership in France, which basically just ramped up the engine performance and a few other bits and pieces around the dampers to, I think it pushed it up to about 190 odd brake horsepower, up from the 150 in the base model. Do not be fooled by the fact that this thing only has 150 brake horsepower. These things were insanely light, being fiberglass construction, and were basically France's answer to the Porsche 911 being rear-engined and rear-wheel drive. And this was at the time when Alpine was under the ownership, as it still is, of Renault, and were being produced under the Alpine name. And I think there are a bunch of cars that get very little love. People remember the Alpines for the A110s, both the historic ones and the modern ones. And the stuff that popped up in the middle, like the Alpine GTA, the A310 and the A610, don't get the recognition as cars that they deserve, because despite being screwed together fairly shonkily at the time, and I have had the privilege of experiencing a few of them over the years, they're actually really sweet handling cars and drive really nicely. And this drives exactly as you would expect a lightweight rear engine rear wheel drive car to drive. It's very throttle drivable, but you do have to watch out. If you commit to a corner, it's going to default into understeer. You've got very little weight over the front, and if you lift off the throttle too suddenly, the back end is going to step out. So it makes it an interesting drive. But yeah, if you're new to Alpines and you pick this up, drive it as you would a 911, and you'll get along with it famously. But really good fun to throw around the London track, and I thought it'd be a good test of the AI, particularly with regard to some of the corner complexes, and in particular the chicane on the track, and the AI on the track handled it superbly, so good going on that one. So that's the mods for this week. That's this week's news roundup. As I say, if you've enjoyed this, please do throw it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new content gets uploaded. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye.